Okay. All right, guys. So tonight for our Dream Team Zoom, I have a couple of thoughts that I want to go over, and we're going to talk about conversations. And truly, when it comes down to conversation, I think a lot of times we're so focused on what are we going to say? How are we going to say it? When in the true core of a good conversation is not about what you are saying, but what you are hearing. So it has a lot to do with listening. But because of what we do for a living, we do have to ask questions. So I have some ideas on questions. I also want to talk a little bit about how much time you're spending starting conversations. Because here's the thing, having a full-blown conversation can take a long time. And some of us don't have time for that, or our day is going to be broken up. So what I'm going to do before we get off here tonight too is give you a challenge of how to start lots of conversations daily. So that's kind of the outline of what I want to do. So the first thing I want to talk about is when you're starting a conversation with someone, first of all, you have to remember you're starting it. So there has to be a give and receive. There has to be a bounce back and a bounce back and forth. So the one thing that I cannot stress enough for you is you've got to keep a question mark in front of your head. You've got to become so curious about people. Now, some of you are just naturally curious, but there's also a part of us that we're pretty protected, private. Maybe we don't want to offend somebody, or we don't want them to think that we're a stalker, whatever. But you've always got to stay curious about who you're talking to. So for example, there was a person who put something on Facebook today, something about the Land of Illusion and the light show. And I immediately found myself commenting because we took my nephews a couple years ago and they really, really liked it. And I almost hit the button, to send it. And then I was like, oh, wait, have you gone before? So all I did, I just ended it with that quick question. My nephews really enjoyed it. Have you gone before? Then she replied back that they hadn't gone yet, but they were thinking of going. And so then it turned into this whole back and forth, nothing to do with Thrive. It's a lady I used to work with years ago in the office furniture land, but it's the first conversation we've had in a while. And had I just said my nephews loved it, I'm sure it would have ended there, right? There would have been no reason. She would have given me a heart, like, thanks for the comment, thanks for saying it's fun. But because I asked her and then I kept asking her questions, we actually had a conversation. To me, the conversations on social media are almost easier because you're forced to listen, and the fact that you're reading. And you can reread their answer twice. You can think about that. It's when I get face-to-face with people that if somebody had said Land of Illusion, I immediately would have been thinking, oh my gosh, it was so much fun. We took the kids there, instead of listening. Maybe they would have said, we've been, and we hated it, or we thought about going, but we couldn't get in, or, so-and-so's in a wheelchair. We don't know if we can go. They could have been doing all of these things that I could have been helping them with, but I would have already jumped the gun and in my head wanted to answer. So I think that for me on social media, I have to remind myself to ask questions instead of just making a comment, because it's such a comment-based land. I mean, everyone wants to comment, but you have to make sure your comment is a question. So I actually have on my little, my calendar that I talked about, that sits in front of me, there's just question marks on my calendar. And it's just to remind me when I'm taking the time to type a reply to ask a question, end with a question, be curious. And you guys all know this, when somebody, I'm like I said, I'm pretty private. So sometimes when people start asking me a ton of questions, I'm like, I don't know you, like what, but most of the time when people ask questions and they're like, well, tell me about this. And well, what was that like? And did you enjoy it? People love to talk about themselves. I mean, I can fall into that trap in a heartbeat. If you want to ask me about my dogs, my house, whatever, I will talk to you forever. So it's the exact same thing. I think what we struggle with as promoters is that we're reaching out to promote a product. So we start getting nervous that they're going to think I'm trying to sell them something, or, you get that like, I don't know. You just have to get rid of that, because you don't have to talk to them about Thrive yet. You just have to start conversations and be curious about their life. And like I've said before, we're all very quick to say they need Thrive. But if we don't start asking the questions and we're not curious about them, we don't actually truly know if they need Thrive or if they can take Thrive, right? I forget who gave the example, but I know I've been fearful of it. not knowing that somebody's like in the middle of cancer treatment, or not knowing that, you know, something like that is going on in someone's life, and we're like hitting them up about Thrive. Well, if you're asking curious questions and you're finding out what's going on in the world, you're not going to be put in that predicament because you're going to know already. Excuse me. So I just did like a quick search of like some engaging or curious, or I forget what all the words were that I was looking for, but something that I thought about there, they gave an example. And I've done this a lot in my life, like where someone's, you know, somebody went on a, let's say somebody went on a trip and you're like, oh my gosh, was it fun? Right? And you feel like you're asking a question, like oh, was it fun? And like most people are gonna be like, yeah, it was fun. We had a great time. Okay. So instead, it could be something where you get a little more specific, like what kind of activities did you do while you were there? Did you meet anybody interesting while you were there? Did you, you know, like start asking detailed, specific, curious questions. Because if you don't, it's going to be the whole thing. How's your day? Great. How was yours? Great. Done. Right? How was your trip? How was your party? How's work? It's that canned conversation that we're all very used to, that is almost, it's almost just us saying hi to people, and, you know, because we just have that real quick back and forth versus actually being curious. And for me, I have to stop myself and turn that switch on. Like I have to slow myself down and be like, let's be curious about these people. Yeah, look, I know. So Laura just said I'm the queen of details, and it's true. Like I tease Laura about this all the time because she will ask you a million questions about something, but you guys, she knows. Like when she goes to tell you about someone's life, she knows. She can tell you what kind of shoes they wore. All right, like that's our joke, but she can tell you what kind of shoes they wear. Excuse me. So the other thing too that the article, that one of the articles I pointed or was reading pointed out, was that when you start asking these curious questions, you can't just, you got to follow up. So like, for example, if somebody said, you know, on your trip, did you meet anybody, you know, I don't know, anybody exciting or whatever, radar, you know, and they're like, oh yeah, we met this couple from New York. Oh, really? What part of New York are they from? Like, you got to keep that going. And again, it's hard because in the back of your mind, you're like, I'm just reaching out. I'm just trying to make some connections here. I'm just trying to mark off my 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So for me, I think the best thing you can do, and I've had to start doing it, and it's weird because I wouldn't have thought that because I'm the one that came up with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 with the lines on it to write the names. But what I'm having to start doing is actually put my 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 away. I'm having to get onto social media, and I'm having to ask questions, make comments. Then I go back and write their names down. Or sometimes I'll do the generic where I already have their name, and then I have to search and then do the question. But I feel like if I'm trying to ask a question, write their name down, ask a question, write their name down, it just becomes, I lose my curiosity, and it becomes a reach out. So you know, you do what works best for you. But this is a list of engaging conversations like questions. So I'm just going to throw these out. And again, it's not, you don't have to remember this. I'll try to screenshot this and put it in the thing. But I just want you to remember it's just being curious. So what was your favorite thing about that? So again, the example where I was talking to the lady about Land of Illusion, had she asked me curious questions back, she could have said, what was your favorite thing about that? Or vice versa. What did you learn about yourself? Like maybe you went on a trip, you know, what did you discover about yourself? What did they say? Like, again, this is like Laura, this is like getting the details. Well, what did they say? Well, then what did they say? Well, then how did that go? How do you feel about that? How does that resonate with you? What will you miss the most? What part are you most excited about? What will it feel like to finally have that out of your way? And, you know, so that particular one, you know, when you're talking to somebody and let's say they've had on Facebook that they're not sleeping well, they're super stressed out, and you're like, ooh, red flag, I'm going to talk to this girl, right? Well, before you go diving in, find out what they're stressed about. Why aren't they sleeping well? And then something like, well, how are you going to, you know, when that finally goes away, let's say they're worried about their mom is ill. You know, oh, well, you know, once they finally get a handle on that and everything's taken care of, you know, how's that going to make you feel? Like that curious question will mentally help them go further and get them into a space where they're actually going to think about the future. They're going to think about wanting to feel good again. Versus, oh, well, you know, I know your mom's really sick and you're stressed out. I got this product, Thrive. It'll help you so much. They don't have room in their brain right now for that. But if you start planting the seeds and you start talking them through these things and being curious about them, like truly curious and listening to their answers, when they do have room in their brain, they're going to remember that. Because you have to remember too, if anyone's ever like seriously sat down and took, an interest in you, which, like I said, that makes me nervous when people do that. But I always remember when so-and-so was so curious, you know, like where so-and-so was asking me questions and so-and-so really cared and so-and-so remembered my mom, or you remember those people. And it's those, I don't know, sealed little seeds in your brain that then it becomes easier to remember that person when let's say it's the Thrive girl who's been so kind to me this whole time and is always asking me how my grandma's doing and ask me how the dogs have been. I'll remember her, right? You're going to remember that person, not because she necessarily sells Thrive or because she has a car, went on a trip, but because she was very kind and curious and caring about you. What will it mean for you to accomplish this? What are you hoping to discover? What are you hoping to get out of that experience? What drew you to that decision? Again, you ask people questions all the time, you know, oh, you went on vacation? Oh, where did you go? Well, why did you pick there? Like, don't just go, you know, just keep asking the questions. Who'd you meet? Who'd you go with? Blah, blah, blah. All right, so those were just some quick little ones that I want to make sure I talked about. But the other thing that I saw that I saved, there's actually a book called The Power of Curiosity. I'm going to look into it. I don't have it yet, but it's all about, so the book is mainly geared towards like when you're leading a team and trying to stay in a curious mindset with conversations with a team, which will come in very handy as a promoter. But I think when you look at this, you have to think of it less of like a work team and more of like your team, your customers being the team. But again, it talks so much about how conversations are less about talking and more about listening. And I know that's a hard one for us, especially because we're taught to go find the red flags. We're taught to go look for the people who don't feel well. We're taught to go find the people that are struggling. But just because you identify them doesn't mean that you pounce on them. That's where you start asking questions and you really have to start listening. And, you know, for some, I mean, there are some people in life that maybe will connect on a level that they can just answer my questions and I'll remember. And there are some people who I'm not going to remember all the details. I'm not going to remember it was their aunt that was sick or their mom they were worried about. Take notes. Put notes next to the person's name. It's okay. Your job as a promoter is to find and corral people. And so if you need notes to keep corralling those people in and bring them closer and closer and closer, take notes. It's okay to take notes about people. The other thing to think about too is we immediately, when we meet someone, already have, whether we want to or not, we already have preconceived notions. Either we think they're prettier than us, they're smarter than us, they would never want to do with what we have, or they're not going to have the money. Like there's so many things that are going on in our head already. Those are the things you have to block out and just start asking curious questions. Because I would say probably 90% of the time when I meet someone, my first instinct of who they're going to be or what they're going to be like is not right. I don't know. Maybe they remind me of somebody, so I just assume they're going to be like that. Or maybe I went to high school with them, so I'm going to assume they still act like they did in high school. You don't know, and you're not going to know until you start to actually truly get to know people again. But so anyway, that book was called The Power of Curiosity. Has anyone read that? To me, it looked pretty new to me. I don't know if that's true or not. But anyway, let me see. It's written by Kathy Taberner, I guess is how you would say it. It just is how to have real conversations and communications. But again, I think that's part of the issue is when it's a fine line. I don't want to drive away the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 out of your brain, obviously, because we use it. It keeps us on track. But I just want to make sure that when you're looking at those 5 reach outs, because I do this. Sometimes I'm like, oh, okay, I shot so-and-so a message. I shot so-and-so a message. Okay, done. Check, check, check. And some days will be like that. But some days I'm actually like, oh, I'm going to start a conversation with this person. I'm going to ask some questions. And here's the thing. So I started a conversation with a girl today. She got a puppy like a month ago. Of course, I commented right away when she got a puppy because puppies are life. And so today I was just going through like the alphabet and I saw her face and I was like, just shot her a message. How's it going with the puppy? Super simple and easy. She wrote, obviously, the puppy's chewing everything. She wrote this whole thing. Thank you so much for asking, you know, blah, 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 blah. And I actually had some tips on puppy chewing because that is expertise in my life. Sent her some information. She asked some more questions. I asked her some questions. So just asking one simple question about something that I know, I mean, even if you are not a puppy person, when you're in the middle of having a puppy, it's your whole life. So I knew she'd have something to say. There was a girl I saw on her Instagram story that they're in Key West. I've never been to Key West. I just asked if it was a place that they had, you know, is this the first time you've been here, or is this someplace you really like to go because it seems like you're having a great time? I got more travel advice for Key West than I ever could have imagined from one little question. But again, I could have just been like, hey, your trip looks great, have fun. I could have just said that. Hey, your puppy is so cute. I could have just said that, but I had to stop myself, say what I wanted to say, and then think of a question, think of something so I can go back and forth. And I mean, you guys, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, stop responding. I'm done. This conversation is over like an hour ago, but it's okay. Because again, we're connecting on a different level, right? So be curious. I think if you can change your mindset from comment to curious, or from comment to question, you know, like I've always said, that challenge where, like, instead of just hearting a picture, I always make myself make a comment. I'm trying to make it a question. You know, we always use the example of, that's a great shirt, where'd you get it? Or how, you know, blah, blah, blah. And that's a good one. Like, it's literally, oh my gosh, your dress is so pretty. Where did it come from? So for example, I went to a wedding over the weekend. Several people commented on my story that they thought my dress was pretty. And I was like, thank you. Wham, bam, right? We were done. They said it looked great. I said, thanks. A few people said, that is so pretty. Where did you get it? You know, questions like that. Well, I will tell everyone I got it half off on clearance. So of course I had conversations with these people about that, just because they asked a question. So comments are great. Questions are king. Now, something I want to challenge this whole group to do is to start setting a timer for 10 minutes, no more than 10 minutes. Literally pull out your phone, your computer, whatever the heck it is that you're doing. I don't care if you want to go through the alphabet. I don't care if you go through your friends list. I don't care if you go through stories. I don't care what it is. But I want you to ask as many questions to as many people in 10 minutes that you can. Do that tonight or tomorrow morning and see how many conversations you get started in less than 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes worth of doing a little scrolling and asking a question, maybe you'll end up over 10 minutes. Maybe you'll ask 8 people 8 questions. You'll start 8 conversations. You'll be mad at me the next day because a couple of them are still going to be going on. But you will have started conversations. And even if these conversations never lead to Thrive, all the algorithm stuff's going to happen in the background. But the thing that to me that is most important is like that internal algorithm that person is going to now have, because you asked them, how was their mom feeling? How was it, you know, where were they going for Thanksgiving this year? You know, when did the kids come home from college? Whatever it is, you guys, there's a million questions you can ask. Be curious, but be precise. You don't want to be on the computer all day. That's not going to make you money. It's just going to start the conversation, because once you get done with those 10 minutes of asking questions, you'll have more than 5 reach outs based on 10 questions, or 10 minutes of questions. You'll have way more than 5. You do that every single day. In the next couple of weeks, you're going to have way more than 4 follow-ups a day, because you're going to have questions popping back up. You're going to have conversations happening again. I think the hardest part for me with all of this is it's a slow process. I want to get online and be like, hey, how do you feel? Let's get you hooked on Thrive. Come on, new customer, let's go. Got a promo. That's how my brain works. I am what they call a red personality. I shared that test with you guys. I am red. But I don't want this to be, you know, 12K in 2 months and then nothing ever happens again. I want this to be a long-term successful business. And so you got to go through the process. And, you know, you never know. Through some of those questions, somebody might shoot you back. Maybe they've been waiting for you to say hi. Who knows? And you finally ask them about their new car. You might get a new customer out of the deal. But the thing is, they've got to learn to start trusting you and to start thinking of you as a person, not a salesperson. So case in point, a girl who I actually got to know through a cousin and definitely have sent messages off and on about Thrive over the last few years, put a post on Facebook the other day and was so upset because someone had friended her. She knew who they were. And she said within 2 seconds of accepting the friend request, she was getting bombarded in her inbox. They wanted her to join her pyramid scheme and buy her stuff. And I commented right away, this girl is a nurse. She's a huge advocate of vaccinations. And I wrote her back right away. I said, just go right back in their inbox and start sending them everything you can about the flu shot. And so we were kind of joking back and forth, but then she finally made a really nice comment. And she was like, you know what, Tammy, I always want to say thank you to you for always being a true person and a business person. She's like, you've never spammed me. You've never exploited our friendship or your cousin's friendship. And I was like, well, I just try to treat people the way I would like to be treated. So you have to remember that, like, she trusts me. I don't know if she'll ever thrive with me or not, but if she ever does, or she wants to, hopefully that would be, she's already indicated that she never felt attacked or manipulated. So, but it's because I ask her questions about her kids. They went to Iceland for a trip. I had a ton of questions about that because it literally blew my mind that people went to Iceland because I think it's cold and I don't know why you'd want to go, but whatever. So just things like that. Like, we've built a rapport together, mainly on Facebook, but a genuine one to where that person actually, knows me now. You see, but yeah, Becca, exactly, Becca. They will learn to know, like, and trust you. And honestly, you guys, that's life. I mean, think about anybody you do business with, your doctor, I don't know, the person that rings you up at Kroger. If you feel the little bit sketchiest, you're not comfortable with them. You're not gonna stay long. You're not gonna go back. We all know, like, and trust each other because we talk all the time, right? It's the same thing. You've got to start building these same relationships with people. But like I said, I encourage you to set a timer, because here's the thing. I can make my brain be curious for 10 minutes, right? I can get in that mode. I can start asking questions. And if I have to go to Pinterest or go to Google and type in conversation starter questions, it'll throw a bunch of questions at you. And then that'll get you in the right mindset. Set it for 10 minutes. Knock those out of the ballpark. During the day, you're going to get responses back. And here's the kicker too. You don't have to reply back right away, right? So let's say you've taken your 10 minutes, you've asked the questions, you've moved on to something else, people start responding. We get excited and we get nervous. We're like, oh, they're talking to me. This might be in order. Oh my gosh. Nope. It's okay. They actually probably know you have a job, and they actually probably know you can't answer the phone all the time. But later on in the day, I don't know, lunchtime, whenever, check your messages and answer them. And how do you answer them? You end them with a question. You're going to keep it going back and forth, at least a couple of times. You want it to be a real live conversation. So my advice for you is set the timer, get in the mindset, be super curious, make sure you're not just making comments, make sure you're always ending with a question, but make it genuine. Like, when somebody asks you a canned question, I mean, we all know that feeling. How was your day today? Like, ask a real question. And something that stops me a lot that I'm not going to let it stop me anymore. Like, if you ever go through your alphabet list and you're like, oh, okay, here's a girl I haven't talked to in forever. And you go in and you scroll and, like, what is today? Today is November 18th. Okay. She hasn't posted anything since September 5th. And I'm like, well, I can't ask her a question about that. That would be weird. Whatever. I have started to say things like, hey, I thought of you today, and when I went to stalk you on Facebook, I realized you haven't posted anything since September. What have you been up to? I'm just just throw it out there. Be honest. Or the last time you posted, you were, I don't know, on a trip. How was it? I never asked you about that. Like, I'm just being honest with them. I'm stalking you on Facebook, which people stalk you all day on Facebook. They're not telling you, but they are. I'm just being upfront and honest about it. So don't let it stop you. And even the one girl, I think I've talked about her a couple of times. I'm trying so hard to, like, find something to ask her, and her whole Facebook is nothing but memes. The girl has never posted a word of her own, nothing but memes. And I was like, you know what? They're pretty damn funny. So I just finally said, your Facebook cracks me up. I'm always trying to figure out what's going on in your life. I have no idea, but you are funny as hell. Keep them coming. And, so then you can actually just keep those conversations. So don't let something stop you from reaching out to somebody. Just figure out a different way to go around it. And, honesty is the best policy. As genuine as you can be, they're going to be so much, more genuine back to you. So we have some time left, obviously. I feel like I do all the talking around here, so I don't want to do that. Does anybody have any tips, suggestions, books, anything to do with communication or listening? Because I really do listen. For me, listening is hard. I try, but listening is hard. I'm being honest. I have that red personality. And did any of you guys, did you take the personality test? I know Sonia did. Were you like, that's totally me? Or you're like, no, I don't feel like that's me? I mean, the second I did it, I was like, oh yeah, that's totally me. Yeah, Tom's in hers, it was totally Tammy. We cracked up laughing about, he actually refers to me as Red now. That's just my name, Red. He's like, hey, Red. Maybe I should go Red. I should have like redhead. He's blue though. He can't make his mind up about anything. Oh, he went downstairs. He didn't say anything back. I feel like I have several of them. Well, and we do. We are all red, blue, green, and yellow. Like the way that particular, everybody has that in you for sure. Some of us have some that stand out a little stronger than others probably. And then maybe if you can't pick, maybe that means you're a blue. Maybe you're just a big mix, which is okay. Probably better than being a full-blown red, yelling at people all day. No, just kidding. All right, somebody unmute. Somebody talk to me. What's going on? Courtney, what up, girl?
Hello. Minor disclaimer, I am not on fire. You guys are under my microwave on my stove. I'm not burning. No, but stories are my jam.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like people, if they're like me, I guess, I tend to post more on my stories than I do on my personal page.
Yep.
So it is so easy to just click through those stories and see what people are doing and just shoot them a quick message. Or even if you do click on the heart or a happy face or whatever, it still goes directly into their inbox.
Yep.
So that is a huge thing for me. And I love that you brought up this topic tonight because I feel like this is something I do and I'm good at it. So like, I feel like it's something I actually relate to is starting conversations with people. And I don't know if you guys see this on your newsfeed or not, because I feel like Facebook updates all the time and it changes all the time. But sometimes, like right now on mine, on the newsfeed page, like if you go to comment on something, it gives you the option to like, comment, or send a message. So instead of commenting like right there on a post, you could just directly send your question or your comment as a message.
Yes, I see that now.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I love conversation starters, and stories are where it's at. So easy. And I also love the fact that when I post something on my story, that you can actually see who's looking at it.
Yeah.
And you can kind of keep track of like, all right, this person's been looking at my stuff like every day for, oh,
where'd you go, Court?
Sorry.
There you are.
My call. I got a phone call, sorry. But yeah, I can see, oh, he's not going to stop calling me. He's going to think I'm dead. No, but you can see who sees your stories, and you can pay attention to who is watching you. And there have been a few people that I've noticed that are looking at my stuff more often, and I've never talked to them. So I've got them written down on my list, and I'm going to start going to their stories. I'm going to start going to their pages. And this is a total fluke, but you know how you guys can do the polls on your stories? So I have had 3 people, and this has resulted in 3 new customer accounts, that I made a poll about something. And because people get so happy flipping and poking through those stories, they've actually voted. Oh my gosh. Hold on.
All right, we'll let her take her call. So Olivia says that she's also been using, I'm sorry. Olivia was just saying she's also been using the conversation or the stories for conversation, and it's made it so much easier. Sonia says, I've never had anyone comment on my story or do a poll. Shh. Okay, carry on. I'm going to mute myself.
Sorry, I missed what you said. I just had to send him a quick text.
I was reading the comments to everybody while you were trying to get your phone. So you just keep going and talk about what you were doing.
Okay. But yeah, so I had made a poll on Facebook, and because people were getting happy just clipping through there, they accidentally voted on my poll. So I'm obviously sending them a message. 2 of them have been men and have honestly told me, oh, I didn't mean to vote on your thing. I'm not sure how I did that. But what is it anyway? What is it that what did I even vote on? So then that just led into a whole different conversation. And, I talked about the Thrive Skin because I've done one of those. And, they may not be into it, but they have a significant other who might be. So, I love talking to people. I love going through those stories and either clicking a heart or sending them a message, or if they post a quote and responding, like, I love that quote, one of my favorites, really gets me going. I feel like I utilize that more than just scrolling and being like, oh, I'm going to message this person. Like, yeah. I feel like it's easier to just go through that story and do it that way.
I do. I agree. I have noticed recently, I feel like people are finally getting on board with Facebook stories. Like, Instagram stories have been around for a while. You can go through your time, people watch your story. And Facebook was like super, like, my numbers were kind of low. And not that it's about the numbers, but clearly people are catching on to what the little faces up top mean. I still notice the majority of people who are actually making stories are us. But it's like Courtney said, it's the best way to just get into someone's inbox. And Facebook is noisy. Facebook is loud. I don't know about you guys, but notifications just kind of pile up sometimes. But that inbox is clear as a bell. I know when there's a message sitting there. I know when it's bold and I need to look at it. And I feel like people know that too. And again, if you're going to take the time to comment or ask a question in someone's inbox, they're going to pay more attention and they're less likely to miss it. So yeah, and Laura said it's all about creative placement for your voting button. Oh, Mike is calling because he has someone wants to order right now and I'm ignoring it. Bye, Court. Peace out. She's got to do that 4K rank repeat again for him. Okay, so it's 8 o'clock. Who has a shout out? Who has a question? Anybody? Lisa, you are free to speak.
Okay, so this is what I come up with for the samples. This is just cardstock.
Cute.
And I put them on there, and then I printed this picture out.
Cute.
So I'm gonna have these at the local, my Thrive After 5 on Wednesday. But I was thinking that all my people that have free accounts, that I would put one of these in a Christmas card.
Yes.
And just say, hey, just thanks for having an account with me.
I flipping love it.
Yeah, it's just cardstock. And then these glue dots. If you've ever made a senior board for your child, you know what these are about. And then I just printed off this picture. So
I like it.
It's my first one.
Well, and I like that it's the size that'll fit into like a Christmas card. That's super smart.
Yeah.
I'm gonna order right now. Thanks. Yeah. Nice, Lisa. Well, hell, that's worth recording the video right there for. All right. Anybody else? Becca, I'm going to ask you really quick. Just give them a reminder of your vision board party.
Oh, yes. It is December 4th at 6:30. It'll probably be about 2 hours. If you even think you're going to come, you want to get on the event page. Let me know if you need an invite because there's homework leading up to it so that it'll be impactful.
Okay, so December 4th is a Wednesday for those of you that are curious.
Yes, it is a Wednesday.
Okay, Sonia.
Okay.
On the event. Okay, Sonia would like an invite.
Okay.
Go ahead and reshare the event on Dream Team too.
Okay.
That way they can get on there. Okay, anything else before we hop off? No? Oh, good.
So Kayla on one of her Zooms had mentioned the 6 list.
Yes.
And then Lindsay, I don't know when her.
Yeah, she did a live. Lindsay did a live about it.
Yeah, I just caught the repeat of that. But a lot of that 6 list is about these types of questions and conversation starters.
Yes. Yes. That's a good reminder. I'll find the link for Lindsay's because Lindsay's recap of it was good too.
It was short.
Yeah. I'm red. I like it short and sweet.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to close this out for tonight. Thanks for being on here again. Encourage your teams to get on here because you guys, there are a lot of promoters who are stuck because they literally stare at their computer and they're like, I don't know how to ask Sonia to thrive. I don't know how to tell her she needs Thrive. That ain't what we do. That's not what we need to be doing. So encourage them to get on here tonight, learn about starting conversations, learn about listening and getting engaged with people, because that is where your Thrive customers will come from. So I will post the YouTube as soon as I get it uploaded. Bye guys. Thank you.